Welcome to the podcast, Mark. Appreciate you taking time for this.
Thanks, Ash. It's great to be with you, actually.
So, Mark, you are the Vice President of Technology and Logistics for Major Drilling International, which is one of the world's largest drilling company. You are part of the executive team and are responsible for leading the technological change. And under your leadership, Major Drilling has really become an inspiring tech-oriented company. And many of your peers, they look up to you for inspiration and follow you on your technological goals. So definitely there is a lot that the world can learn from you in how do you define, design, and execute a change that is durable. New technologies and innovation, like everybody is innovating these days, but only few of them stick. Only few of them really last long enough to pay back for their investment. And you have done it a couple of times, and you definitely must have some battle scars, and we'll talk about it. But definitely an inspirational company, and you have an interesting background. You spent majority of your career in finance function.
Yep.
You were the controller, and then your finance in charge, and then all of a sudden you moved to technology, innovation, logistics. Tell me about that move.
For sure. That happened 6 years ago. I've been here for 16 years at Major Drilling. And when I started off, I had a career. I came from a manufacturing company in Montreal. And when I moved back home here in Moncton, New Brunswick, I started in finance. That is my background. That's what I studied at university. And so it was just the natural path. But I've always been somebody that just goes where the sea will bring me. And having worked in finance for 10 years, my role was to help our multinational branches with their reporting, understanding how the business is driving performance. And you do that all through numbers, right? So I've never been one necessarily to like accounting or finance because of the plurality of it, the debits and the credits. It's more about what makes the number talk. So when I'd go to a branch, spend a lot of time in Africa, in South America, I'd spend most of my time in the field, at the drills, and in the warehouse. Because numbers on paper, it doesn't really tell the story. I guess just spending all that time and learning about the business, getting to know the people and what drives this business, right? What are the key success drivers is really what motivated me, really what interests me. And then on a larger scale, chance to go to the large mining conference such as PDAC and the others, really interested by this fascinating industry. And when we had an organizational change here 6 years ago, Denis Larocque, our CEO, asked me, hey, he'd see me be in charge of change, see me in charge of logistics, see me in charge of technology and computers and reporting. And I said, for sure, because first and foremost, I love the company, I love the people, and that's what really drives me. And I have an affinity for all things new. Immediately, not really understanding what I was jumping into, I said, let's do it. And the rest is history.
So doesn't matter what seat you have in the bus, as long as the bus in the right direction and you believe in the bus,
Yeah.
then it's all good.
Absolutely. I like the bus analogy. I have a few of those too. Absolutely. What makes a company is its people. And that's driven through culture. And it doesn't matter which industry you're in. I think if you have the right people that align to the core values and the vision of the company, that'll transcend through culture, and that's what ties everything together, right? So then you're a well-oiled machine. That's what we have here, I feel. And to those that are here, people stick around, and that's what I like about a company. So that's why when I was asked to lead this portfolio, this mandate, I said, for sure, it'll be a lot of fun because I'll get to do what I like in life, which is understand what problems are there, what's stopping us from doing better, And once you've really identified that and understand the difficulties or the problems that people that implement these solutions or have to go through process and systems, what their pains are, then you can develop a good solution. And you already have their buy-in. I'm really lucky to have this opportunity for sure.
You touched a very important point here, Mark, and I meant to discuss this with you at the later part of the session, but since you mentioned it, you're talking about leading with empathy, understanding your people's pain points, and not doing something because you want to do it, but doing because those people need it, and you believe in those people, and then you're empathetic about that. Am I hitting it right?
Bang on, absolutely. I myself am not the one that are bringing the solutions to the problems we're trying to solve. The issues and the challenges are 100% coming from our drillers, from our field crews, right? From the men and women that basically live every day on the front line, basically working with our customers to deliver great products and great solutions. So they're the ones that really understand what the problems are there to solve, and they're the ones that will really have the solution. What we do and the innovation team does is we enable them to identify what are these solutions, right, in a more technical manner, or enable the company to go find providers or manufacturers or our internal knowledge base. Sometimes it's just a question of saying you have a problem in this country, we have a solution in a neighboring country, right? So bringing that all together, right, is definitely the key. But you got it right on the nose. Empathy is the most effective way of implementing change. Because if you try to impose it, well, that's just textbook. It won't work.
Yeah, and I always say this when I talk about change management and digital transformation or any change in general, is that if you're talking about change management, you've already lost it. It's too late already because you have done something and now you're trying to damage control.
Oh, for sure. Because to be honest, and certainly when you operate in an industry like ours, which is mining exploration and drilling, we don't find success in applying university theory. You have to translate it to the practical meaning, right? And adjust your language. And sometimes what you need to do is, well, after you've spent the time understanding and really, and I can't stress this a lot, spend a lot of time discussing and understanding the issues to solve, right? So you really get, and not only one, a few people, broaden your array to different areas or different peoples, different skill levels of people working in the field, so that you don't just build a solution that fits one person, because we're trying to do things here that has value and is scalable. But once you've done that, then you bring it back to the team. We go and we work with our resources, find the right solution. And then the trick is to go back to the field, basically, and have them say, this is what we want, rather than you saying, here's what you need. Because if they can come back and say, if our drillers can come back and say, or our operations managers, build this for us. This is what we want. This is what we need. Then you don't have to push it on anybody. They'll pull it, and that's the most durable process, if you want, for sustainable change.
Is like sometimes we get occupied with the shiny looking pebbles, the technology, what is happening in AI, and let me try my hands on it. Yeah. And then we completely forget about why exactly you went out and invested in some technology. Maybe affect your productivity, your reliability, your safety, or some business metric. And then in the pursuit of that shiny looking pebble, that idea gets lost. And then you forget that the only people who can drive that change is the frontline people. And if I can change their behavior for positive, then I'm transformed. That's the whole thing about transformation, is changing people's behavior. Yeah. And if you're not changing anything, then that technology is nothing, right?
The bright shiny objects is always a challenge in anything you do and anything you try to change, right? The feature creeps, whatever what you want to call it, because usually these projects are not projects that'll last you a month, right? Often these kind of changes that we're embarking on, when you do it strategically for a multinational company or whomever, these are long implementations, right? They take quite a while. And being able to come back on a regular basis and systematically validate either through a steering committee or strong project management that you're keeping your eye on the ball and you're really keeping focus on achieving those small steps, those small pieces. Very important to start small, right? When you have any kind of change, lay the foundation, then you can add the features in an agile fashion over time.
That's a great point. Is do the minimum viable product and do just enough to prove that this has got value and you can get people rallying around it, and then slowly build it, rather than many customers that I know that they try to boil the whole ocean. They invest billions of dollars and they start to boil the whole thing, and then and when shit happens, then you have no way to go back because you've already sunk a lot of money, and a lot of people want to save their face. They can keep going until to the point they can't keep going.
It's very dangerous territory because you risk literally losing the whole project. Even though
100%, yeah.
You risk losing the whole thing because you'll get the finance people on your back because you've overspent. And really, once you start delivering, it's not meeting what the expectations were going to be. So your stakeholders, your key influencers in your company are just going to lose focus and attention and interest.
So you mentioned finance people are going to be on your back. So that's where you come in.
Yeah.
So tell me how your finance background helps you being a better leader for innovation, technology, and logistics.
Let's look at it this way. Anything you embark on relating to change or relating to the business process is a small project in itself. So you need a business plan, right? You always have to really go through the steps to figure out, okay, one, what's the financial metrics around it, right? What are the resources I need? What are the, you know what I mean? So it's practically the same process that you would go through operating in finance or accounting, right? So I think going through my finance background and an auditing background at the beginning of my career permitted me to mind on a business plan. Obviously, we're being publicly traded. We're working for our shareholders, right? But not only that, we're also working for customers, mostly for our employees. We need to be financially sound and financially smart as we embark on all of these projects, right? So finance background definitely helps as you establish the project parameters and sell it to your CFO.
I completely agree with that. So your business is very unique, that you serve resource companies and you drill on their behalf, and these are remote operations that in many countries considered essential. So the pandemic hasn't really affected it directly. Of course, there are many indirect impacts of this pandemic. So tell me if your key lessons that you have learned during this pandemic, and what is something that has kept your company going despite these restrictions and the issues and challenges.
Yeah, for sure. What we've learned really fast is that there is an alternative to travel. It's not a perfect alternative, right? But definitely these video calls, everybody will be used to now knowing where the mute button is and all that stuff. I think we were not doing that enough before. It's not to take away that we need to travel. I think there's a huge value in traveling and being on the ground and with people. It's not to replace it, but I think video calling is probably here to stay. And actually turning the video on, that's something I always encourage everybody on the calls, if you want to have a meaningful call, because compared to just audio, I think when you bring the video on, it does bring body language and it makes for more effective communication. What I've also learned that's really important for us, certainly when you have strong culture and you value your people, is keep in touch. Reach out. Don't assume that people are fine. So you need to do a lot more touch points. I think mental health is lots talked about a lot. It's true. It's real. Very important. The thing that's tough is when you are in the situation and you can't be to the office, or you can't all be at the office at the same time, it's hard for new employees, certainly when you want to maintain culture, right? So you have to be creative, and that's where you have, for the leaders and for the colleagues, is to stay close and have regular calls. Don't have to be long, but just touch in, right? And not necessarily just about business and all work. Just say, hi, how's it going? And let's have a coffee this morning together. It's because if you do that and you invest in that, once this is all over, they'll remember. They'll see that, you know what, this is all not just short-term gain, right? It's a long-term investment, basically, of a relationship with an employee.
You're spot on. It doesn't take a lot of time. You just have to ask people, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And you have to mean it. You just don't say it. You have to mean it. And if you mean it, then people sense it. Humans sense it. True compassion is really visible, and you can't hide it.
No, absolutely. And I guess the last advice I will give that I've learned through COVID is we spend our days in front of this computer screen, and I've worked a lot from home, and take time for yourself, because you know what, we're probably all working more hours than we were usually. And it's studies, I was listening on the radio this morning, and studies are just proving what you already know, that we are all more tired. So set an alarm on your watch, or just stretch your legs, take a walk. Don't spend hours in front of the screen not moving. It's not healthy.
I wanted to say that when you mentioned that you encourage people to turn video on, and if you are on the 10th meeting of the day, you really should not turn your video on, and maybe try to take a walk and attend that meeting on the phone. Nice lessons. Thank you, Marc. Switching gears a little bit, how do you define a true digital leader?
A true digital leader is somebody basically that understands that you can best manage what you measure, right? And it's somebody that basically will be able to spend time developing relationships with those that you're trying to help, the stakeholders in what you're responsible for. Spending time developing a relationship to really gain their trust. And that's the key word in this whole conversation, right? If you can gain trust that you will be working as a team with somebody else in your organization to really help improve their livelihood and their experience at the drill for us or at their work, that trust will translate into honesty, right? And that honesty will give you wealth of information that'll help you achieve the goal. If you're looking to change, because we know strategically from the top that, yep, we need to do this, but you need to develop that trust so that basically becomes an effective way of delivering the solutions. But I think that what that'll do at the same time, it'll help you identify who in the business are the influencers, right? Because those are the people you need to spend time with. Those are the people that you need to pick to implement your minimum viable solutions or your prototypes or your beta testing. These are the people that will help prove that the solution to the problems actually do work, and they'll do it well. We spoke. You mentioned initially a bus in one of your comments, right? We've had an analogy here. It's from our previous CEO that was here. He always had an analogy about the people in the company. We're all on the bus. There are the 20 people in the front of the bus that are the influencers, right? Then you got your followers or the workers, or the people in the middle of the bus, and then you got your 20 people at the back, 20% in the back, that are the naysayers. And that's fine. You always have that. You can't cut off the 20%. It's part of every organization, and they have value, and they have their role and purpose.
They keep you honest.
Exactly. They'll keep you honest. Absolutely. So there's a lot of books written about this. But that's the bus. You can't get rid of the bus. But spend the time identifying the 20 in the front and work with those people. And those people will basically bring the other 60%. So you're going to get 80% with only spending 20% of your time working with the people that are the influencers in the business, right? So again, relationship communication develops trust, and then you'll be able to effectively implement the solution.
This is nicely said. Roadmap, relationship, trust, which is the biggest currency that you can have as a leader, and honesty. And then be very specific about who do you want to spend your time with, because you only have a few hours a day. And then design your culture so that every touch point that you have with the influencers, they have the right message to pass on to their followers. So that's a fantastic 5 points recipe. I'm going to love it.
If you practice it, it becomes natural after a while, right? It's trial and error. You end up learning.
Yeah, that people think that their job is technical or digital leader. Sometimes they get confused that their work is building a data lake or hiring data scientists and spending time writing codes or solving problems. That's part, yes, but don't forget about the softer aspects of leadership, which are more vital, and they speak volume when they speak. They are quiet most of the times, but when they speak, then there is no going back. Then you can't go back and fix it.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And that was the first part of I think leadership in this field. But the second one, which is then very important to operationalize what you just talked about, is surround yourself with the smart people. Because for myself, again, like we said, I'm an accountant. I don't know how to build a data lake. I can talk about one, I can be dangerous about it, but don't ask me to architect one at all. So the key here then afterwards, as you build your team, don't necessarily look for the smartest people, smartest book smarts. Look for somebody with passion. Find obviously the prerequisites, right? You'll find out that relatively quickly, reference all that stuff. But if you can then surround yourself with people that have passion, believe in what they do, and just loves talking about this stuff, and have the ability to source out other people, and you can see the magic happen when they find other people that are similar. Passion is the key to then being effective in enabling change.
One thing that I really like in people, and I was working with one of my colleagues, they did not know the industry, and I assigned them something challenging, and the response like, Ash, I'll figure this out. And that was enough for me. And after that, I would have taken failure as an answer. Because that attitude about, I'll figure this out, and that's it. Then those people can figure out anything.
Very powerful, huh?
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you that find out passionate people and make sure that their passion doesn't die out.
Exactly. And you just mentioned it too. Allow them to fail, right?
Yeah.
Certainly when you operate in the field of innovation or new technologies, you can't always get it right. You're inventing things. And that's hard. You need to manage that failure because some people will be looking, maybe those are the 20 persons in the back of the bus. But just you need to manage that. You need to make sure that you do it in the right context and that you don't kind of stumble over yourself. But yeah, allow them to fail. And your job as supporting them is to make sure that you don't sink the ship. But as long as you only get shot above the waterline, then you'll be fine.
And I think by very definition, innovation requires experimentation. And by very definition of experiment, you don't know the outcome, right?
Yeah.
So the chances of failure are equal chances of failure, equal chances of success. So you have to take failures as an outcome and accept it and then move on. And I've seen that sometimes we take the experimentation part so seriously and we make it like business as usual and we set the same expectations we have from established business. And that's where the failure happened. The real failure happened where you fail people who were out there experimenting. And as a leader, we fail them by setting unnecessary expectations and then not rewarding them for the efforts they put despite the failure. So it's actually a leadership failure, not an experiment failure.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because that's what your job is, right? Is to manage the outcome.
Mark, when you were discovering your own leadership moments or your leadership style, and you said everybody has to do trial and error and figure it out, tell me about a time when you had some sort of a euphoria moment and you said, aha, I figured it out. This is the way. Give me some example.
Yeah, for sure. It was once I learned that you had to really plan out the approach of who you communicate with, identifying who are the leaders within your organizations that are going to help you achieve the goals, right, of testing, developing, and implementing the solutions that we've been working on. And I think that was the aha moment for me, because we had quite a few trial and errors before that of trying to develop and implement solutions, but we were working sometimes with the wrong people. The other moment basically is something I learned here just through the good mentors that I have at my work here and the leadership that was existent before I came in. We have an approach of, like we talked before, is if you want to implement change, start small, right? Minimum viable products. That's not the language we use here, but it's all about what can you implement those three initial features, right? Implement a foundation, and then you look at the features. We're currently undergoing an ERP change here at Major Drilling, right? So it's huge. We've been at it for 2.5 years already. So some people may think that's long, but you know what?
No.
We prefer doing it right and slow and quick and fail. Because I've been at previous companies where we were at our, I think, third attempt at implementing ERP, and millions of dollars later, it was once they actually implemented, it was like, no, I don't like this. So we're taking our time, and as we're implementing, we're constantly being asked, "Oh, system can do this. Oh, system can do that. Let's do it now." And you know what? Natural tendency to say, "Oh, geez, I think we can. We should." No, stop, rationalize, find the alternative way to do it, make a plan. You can't last forever, but we're taking the approach of, no, we're implementing the foundation so that everybody's able to use the system and connect to it. Once they can use it and connect to it, then it'll be way easier to implement the more complex parts of the system.
And at least you have something that is moving and there are people working on it, and then it's easy to add some bells and whistles, if you will, afterwards.
Yeah, because you're not painting, or you're not complexifying, if that's the word, the implementation of the value-added feature, because at the same time you have to figure out connectivity and technology to run the application, and you know what I mean, the VPN and multi-factor authentication, all those kind of things that are not connected to the value-added feature. So that's why you do that one first, and then get to the next one, small steps, agile steps, and you'll be better able to manage the deployment.
One foot after the other.
Yeah,
small innovations rather than big transformations.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So I'm a big fan of system leadership. Is a leadership that cuts across horizontally across functions and also vertically across the domains. Mm-hmm. So tell me, what do you think about system leadership?
Oh, it's a sustainable way. If you talk about system leader or system leadership as how to transform a process within all levels of a company, if that's how we're defining it right now, I think it's a lot about empowering your employees, right? It's delegating responsibility and authority, right? It's about creating a common vision across all the different levels of the business, cross-functional teams, right? Where when you're looking to deliver an application, a new technology, may that be digital or mechanical, doesn't matter, you need to bring the different stakeholders within your organization. And if you can get them all on the same page, everybody's going to work at occurring these changes and these improvements from their own aspects, which will cover 100% of your business.
Fantastic. So, what is your next idea for innovation? What are you working on?
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked me. So we're we're currently in our development phases in the development of analytics, one of our systems right now, where basically we capture the drilling parameters from our drills, which are going to permit us to help our employees have a better work experience. So that's our key project right now. We're really excited to be implementing that on our first drill as we speak right now. That's really focused to help us with recruiting, right? Which is the number one issue right now that we have, that all drilling companies have right now, to permit growth and see the opportunities offered by the market right now. So what that'll do, basically, it'll help us train faster. The next things that we're working on, we have quite a few basically that are very at their beginning stages of identifying problems and then looking for solutions. But look, there's a lot of different things we could be doing right now, but our strategy is to focus on how will it improve our employee experience, right? But how will it help us recruit? May that be millennials, may that be to help with the gender diversity in the field, very important for us. How can we be operating right now in an industry where we only tackle half of the available workforce? So, and we're making good progress on that actually right now. So we're hoping that the things that we work on right now will help in getting a great employment experience that'll drive productivity. And you know what? Once you do all of that, you know, I've not said anything about customers. It all transcends and translates to customer value, right? Because that's what's going to get us basically get more production, safer production. Because a lot of things we do right now also that we're focusing on is safety driven. We want everybody to be able to go home every night to be with their family.
Exactly. And if you take care of your own safety parameters, you're actually helping your customers achieve theirs.
Yep.
And definitely engaged employees, productive employees means higher production, meaning happier customers. All our customers want is production high, at delivery at right time, within the budget, and with no safety exception.
It all ties in.
It all ties in. You keep your employees happy, your customers are going to be inherently happy. So it goes. I like that your innovation, it all revolves around your people, and that would be my takeaway from our today's conversation is it's all about people. And
exactly.
Right?
Maybe you talk about how you implement, maybe how you basically source out, but ultimately who you're doing it for.
Exactly. And you partnered with Symboticware for that project. Is that the same?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the key project that we're working on right now. We're also working on another project right now, which is about to go in the field to be tested. It's a fully hands-free rod handler that can go pick up rods and lay them down horizontally on the ground. That would be very flexible maneuverability. So that's the first of its kind in the industry. And as we said initially, it's the minimal viable product. We were working with one of our large senior customers in the development of it, and they're excited to get it on their project to try it out. But that's just version one. We've got lots of other small steps to deploy for that one too.
Fantastic. Marc, thank you very much for coming to our show. It's been really enlightening talking to you. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, Ash. You're a great guy, and I appreciate you inviting me to chat with you.